Good morning, everybody. I'm Tex Homer. That is Ian Boyd. It is the Wednesday show, and we are going to discuss the second level of the Muschamp defense, linebacker, and the star position. First, head over to Inside Texas right now. Summer sale, 50% off. You will receive the Ultimate Fan Bundle, Inside Texas, On 3, and Rivals all together. Plus, we throw in a full year of access to The Athletic. Link in the description down below. We've decided to start with the linebacking core position. I had a lot of questions about going into offseason. I feel better about it. I still have it's still my most questioned position group, but we're going to learn from Ian what these positions mean, why they are different, and then do we have the players to fit ideally, or can we make things work? First things first. You go through a little bit of the history of the linebacker position in the spread offense. So what innovation happened that kind of mutated linebackers?
The spread, I guess. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, but it's what you're getting at. What did it do? What did it do to linebackers?
It broke them.
Yeah.
You spread out enough guys, then you get into the situation as a linebacker where your traditional coverage assignment and your traditional run fit responsibility are in two very different areas of the field. And it's basically impossible to defend both responsibilities at the same time. So the spread pushed this, and then defenses started just being like, okay, we're going to pick one or the other. And we'll maybe have the linebacker move into his actual position at the last minute, right? So he's like, oh, maybe I'm out here, maybe I'm going to cover, and then he'll run back to the box at the last minute. And offenses were like, well, I bet you our quarterback could hold the ball out for the running back, look and see what he actually does, and then decide whether to throw the quick pass or the run.
So he's responsible here in this diagram for the B gap, and then also somehow needs to get out towards the hashes to defend any kind of quick game by that interior slot. Yep. And before the spread era hit, the linebackers were bigger and bulkier too, so they also had to start selecting for even different bodies.
Yeah, your classic linebacker was mostly chosen for being powerful in the box. Now there was already some evolution towards hey, you know what? Actually, fast guys are really good at this too. But even then, it was still Ray Lewis was the dream.
And even though they became more athletic, meaning that they could play in coverage, it still doesn't solve the problem of you need to be in two places at once. You might be able to get near it quicker, but they're putting you in that optionality. Even if you're an elite linebacker, you can still have trouble unless you can teleport.
Yeah, without teleportation.
And it's something we're working on hard at Inside Texas. It's kind of one of our side goals is trying to figure that out. But
yeah,
that's a major factor.
Top minds are at work trying to solve that problem, and then Texas will get back to playing they're gonna find more eligibility for Malcolm Roach. They're gonna bring him back, and we're gonna make the inside linebacker experiment finally work.
Yeah. And so this is for the Mike specifically. And why does this formation matter? Why did you put it in trips?
This is the one where it's the Mike linebacker in particular. Against a traditional 4-2-5 defense in trips, the star nickel will play to the field. The weak side linebacker will play to the shorter side, and the Mike plays in the middle. That's how most teams do it, which is a key to this article. And then the Mike is if it's trips, it's the Mike that's in conflict. If it's 2x2, in the next diagram, I believe, you scroll down a little bit. Now it's the Will who's in conflict. It doesn't look as bad here in the boundary, and I guess it's not, but the diagram does not do justice to the width of a football field. So it's still plenty bad, right? But the trips is often the worst, especially because a lot of teams still want to play their downhill forceful linebacker in the B gap at Mike linebacker. And so if you're still selecting your Mike linebacker to be like heady, tough, can call the defense, will take on blockers, etc., then the trips is awful because it's telling him he has to be a safety at the same time that he has to be a traditional linebacker, and that's what gets a lot of teams into trouble.
And also, even kind of away from the optionality, there were systems where this Mike would have to carry whoever that number 3 is, and it doesn't have to be a wide tight end, right? They could have moved him to a slot, and so now you have a Mike trying to like huff and puff down the field with a number 3 too. So that's also why some of the body type has changed, and also systems have changed to try to avoid it. What's the famous one? Was it Ohio State versus Sark? Where that Mike was it Ohio State versus Sark?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
where the idiots were in a 4-4 stack.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, you want to avoid the situation where a Mike can be on a number 3 in that way as well. Okay, so because of these two different, similar but different stressors on the Will and the Mike, how does that present in what Muschamp wants in the position?
This used to drive me nuts for years of watching Texas, because Texas would always follow the normal heady, tough guy at Mike, and then the better athlete at Will, especially in 2018. In 2018, Texas had Anthony Wheeler as the Mike and Gary Johnson as the Will. And every single air raid team would play trips, and they'd get the number 3 receiver as wide out of the box as possible. And then be like, okay, Anthony Wheeler, cover the Y and stop the run at the same time. And it was impossible. The teams would just gobble up 3 yards. And I was like, why can't you just flip them? Why can't you at least play Gary Johnson to the wide side of the field?
The fast guy.
The fast guy. And then keep Wheeler in the box. And they never did. Muschamp's whole system is designed to do exactly that. So Muschamp doesn't have the Mike and the Will. He has the Mike and the money. And the money can still be in conflict, but he's selected to be a beatier kind of guy. The Mike is always like in the open B gap, but he can always be more of a plugger. It's a lot harder to get him trapped in space. Again, the haircut photo?
No, it's the yard guys always show up right outside my window. They always come at the same time, apparently.
The money guy.
I'll mute myself while you explain.
The money guy, at least, it's like, hey, he may be in conflict. He's like, his gap deal is actually kind of worse in this case because it's like the A gap all the way out to the Y. But there's so many things you can do to protect him. You can have him like overplay the pass and then run downhill against the run. You can have him try to recover late to the pass. You can spin down your safeties now and then to keep the offense off kilter. You can 2-gap up front to buy time for him. There's a million things you can do to help him. And you could do it with the other systems too, and teams did. But you still have at least some ability to like select your linebackers for particular traits. So like if you have like a good downhill thumper, you can like Justin Cryer, you can create you can play him at Mike in this defense, and he's not necessarily going to get trapped in space all the time like he would in Orlando's defense against like Cliff Kingsbury and Dana Holgerson. And you can play your fast guy at money and see if like against some teams you can just get away with him being fast and not have to scheme it up as much.
And then so you do have that flexibility in Ty Anthony Smith, right?
Well,
theoretically for speed.
I don't know. I'm not
Not
sure.
for Thumper. Not for Thumper. If you're getting targeted at Mike, I guess, in the drop back.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So if you, let's say they go with Cryer because he's like a really reliable between the tackles guy. And then you play a team where it's like, no, they're using motion. They're using 5 wide. They're doing all kinds of stuff. They're still getting us caught in space. You could then you could just turn to Anthony Smith. If he didn't win the job from the outset, right? And he could be a great alternative Mike for Cryer against more clever spready teams.
So do you think Cryer is the likely starter?
I really don't know.
That's where I'm at too. I think the advantage of experienced older guy really can matter at linebacker. And he covered that one up the middle that was actually pretty impressive. I'm not sold that that's a solve, but I think maybe since you're – and also with Anthony Smith at like 210 pounds, like that's where it's – you got to be at 220 minimum. So it's – but also they love Anthony Smith, and he gets called a leader. And if you get called a leader on Texas, it's like basically a sneaky way to say you're starting. Sark like loves his leaders. But that Mike position is going to be a little bit weird because neither of them is a full solve for what Muschamp wants. And what Muschamp wants is just like an elite first round that can do everything. I think you say he's like, he wants a guy that can blitz, tackle, play coverage. And it's like, yeah, an incredible player.
Even if, if Cryer starts, you could still play Anthony Smith as a substitute at either position and get him like equivalent snaps probably. And he might be in your third down package in which you could get it. Really, your first 3 linebackers in a 2 linebacker system are almost all co-starters.
Says here, Cryer is really the only Mike linebacker on the roster, right?
No. Rocky Cummings is a Mike linebacker. He's just super young. I know that we've had reports that are like, hey, Kosiak Paula is the ideal Sam. I think he can play inside. I feel like calling him the ideal Sam is like not wanting to step on the toes of Tyler Atkinson and Rocky Cummings.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. That's like all of our freshmen each have their role, and they are all good.
Yeah, they're all the perfect prototype for the 3 linebacker roles.
And they don't even compete or challenge each other.
They don't compete. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You should all stick around all 4 years.
Yeah.
No NIL disputes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think all 3 of them can play inside. I think all 3 of them are pretty natural looking inside. I was shocked that Paula and Cummings looked a little more natural inside at like reading things properly and fitting their gaps than Tyler Atkinson did. He's just did not look nearly as like it had not like the switch hadn't flipped for him yet to know exactly how to fit everything.
We have a pile up at will too, because you have Rasheem Biles, who's a clear will, who I think is the clearest to his position and has elite ability in some ways. So I think he's the clearest will. And then, of course, you have Anthony Smith, who's truly a will. And then just by size and speed combination, even though they might force him into Mike. And then you have Tyler Atkinson and stuff like that, too. So we have a lot of these will-type bodies as far as playable now-ish. And really, I would agree with Horns fan that, like, Cryer, especially traditionally, is really the only Mike linebacker playable that is likely to play right now.
The only read and react ready-made Mike linebacker on the roster. Cummings is getting there. Coach Sarcasm mentions Brad Spence. Brad Spence highlights that Arkansas looked good off ball. He must have had some serious lowlights. I don't know if Spence is a good read and react Mike linebacker, but he is a terrific point and shoot linebacker from.
When I watched the Arkansas All 22, if Spence had to move forward, it looked great. Like that's where, and that's why they put him at edge, right? The coaches eval him at like, hey, he's good at going forward. It's whenever he was dropping back. It's not like he was slow and uncoordinated. It's just it clearly didn't have like the feel. You have to be a little bit psychic when you're dropping back in the midfield because you have all these concepts going on behind you. Didn't have a great feel for that. But I agree with the point and shoot angle or a downhill tackle, some type of blitz package, everything that he could see in front of him. I thought he looked good at Arkansas in the All-22.
We'll see on him too, but
he seems like he's going to be packaged.
Yeah, in the spring game, he was they had a third down package, and he was one of the two edges in it. It'd be like they'd slide the end inside and replace him with Spence, and that looked pretty effective.
So that, it just feels like, he's going to be used in unique settings and situations for his skill set. Good morning, Izzy. How are you? But that's why I still have questions about the linebacker position. What we want them to do and what Muschamp wants them to do is not fully actualized, I don't think, yet. Especially when you're talking about the Jalen Walkers of the world or that really dynamic off-ball player. We still need that. Maybe Biles at will. I think Biles at will is the closest thing to the
money. You should be saying money.
Yeah, so we don't confuse. So money is will.
Sort
of, depending on the personnel set and all that. Are you going do they call Mike, and then when does it become Mac?
In nickel, it's Mac, but
nickel, it's Mac, and base, it's Mike. So we need to figure out too if we're sticking with Mike or Mac.
Let's stick with Mike. Just forget Mac.
Okay, we'll stick with Mike, and then we'll make sure that we're saying money, and that way we're not confusing people.
Money is an important distinction because they do Mike and Will and base, and it's more normal, like my diagrams above. But when they're in nickel and they do Mike and money, the money aligns to the tight end, and I don't know if the Sam or the Will. It's like a blend of Sam and Will linebacker. So I think it's worth differentiating. Whereas Mac is just we don't need to mess with that.
Yeah, as long as we just stick together with our plan, and so we're not confusing the hell out of everybody. There any final pieces here? You say it here, kind of. We talked about it. These are the guys that we're thinking in here. What do you think when we talk about we're worried about some holes or not maximized positions? What do you think that looks like? Do you think that looks like the Mike getting targeted in the pass game, and then you have to switch to Smith, and now we're running at Smith? How does that actually actualize?
Maybe just the Mike not being good, I think would be my worry. Like we have this idea, it's like, well, Cryer is your run stopper, and Ty Anthony Smith is your rangy pass guy. Well, last year, Ty Anthony Smith wasn't actually that good at that yet. He caught some interceptions. He has the athleticism for that. But last we saw him, he wasn't actually good at it yet. You could see how he could be good at a million things that like a money would do, but he wasn't yet.
That's the problem is I think the linebacker, when we talked about it on another show, the linebackers are going to do some really flashy, cool stuff, like get awesome sacks, get interceptions, really important factors. And so the fans will think we are all good there, but the little things. I think Ty Anthony Smith, was it versus Vanderbilt, where he was having a lot of trouble? To be fair, the whole damn defense was having a lot of trouble, but the same thing of not really – like he's dropping, but he doesn't really get the motivation for it, what's going on behind him. Those things matter. But if you can also get picks, that can make up for it a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, he was pretty far from understanding what was going on. And then Cryer, it's like, what if Cryer isn't actually that good of a plugger? Again, like let's say they play Ohio State, and Ohio State's just running the ball. And it's like, oh, that's all right. We just play our plugger, Cryer. And it's like, okay, he's more of a plugger, but that doesn't mean that he's
the plugger.
That doesn't mean that he's Ray Lewis. It doesn't mean that he's even Anthony Hill or whatever. So, like, what if we're just not actually that good personnel-wise at the Mike position?
Yeah.
That's my number one concern.
Yeah, it's pretty all-encompassing there.
I think but Rasheem Biles is awesome for money. When I said it earlier, it's almost like a Will Sam blend. He literally played Will and Sam in the Pitt defense last 2 years. And he was a great blitzer. So he should be like an amazing weapon for Muschamp. I think you prioritize playing to his strengths. Mike, we discussed. There's a lot of question marks there. Like maybe Ty Anthony Smith has to learn his role in pass coverage, learn his run fits, do it all without the benefit of spring practices, and gain ideally like 20 to 30 pounds of muscle.
Well, yeah, I don't.
20, 30 pounds of functional weight.
Yeah,
that's a pretty tall order.
Yeah.
But then they have I don't even mention the Akron guy, Boswell. I don't know that he's ever going to factor in. But Atkinson is an elite athlete. He's just like even more lost, or at least last time we saw him, he's even more lost than Smith, for sure. But as soon as he turns it on, he's like one of the most talented linebackers that we've ever. Okay. Cummings maybe even better and maybe better quicker. It's like shocking how good he is. They're like a year away or 2 years away maybe with some of these guys from being like just having an outstanding linebacker room. This year it's like
let's make it work.
Hang on, and we can probably come out ahead with the havoc plays that Biles creates. Will probably push us over, 50-50.
Yeah, we need D-line to really be effective and give all advantages to linebackers, and then also we need that safety play behind them. Well, this is a perfect time while you wrangle Izzy from whatever crime she's committing. Let me tell you guys about Drew Smith. If you're running a business in Texas, real estate, construction, manufacturing, I've got to tell you about fellow Longhorn Drew Smith with Hub International. Most companies are still operating with the same insurance program they had when they first opened their doors. The problem? The business has grown, changed, and evolved. But the insurance never did. Izzy, don't do this to Drew Smith. It's his first read. That's where Drew is different. He doesn't believe in just firing up the quote machine, blasting your information out to 20 carriers, and hoping for the best. He believes in building long-term partnerships and creating insurance programs tailored to the business you actually have today. Drew's team evaluates risks from the ground up, identifies coverage gaps before they turn into costly uninsured claims, and designs a strategy that protects what you've built. When something does go wrong, insurance isn't supposed to disappear when you need it most. Hub's dedicated Central Texas claims team takes care of you. Drew and Hub have delivered real results as well. After a client's building burned down, the carrier denied the claim. Drew and the Hub team challenged the decision, got him paid in full. In another case, Drew helped a large real estate portfolio save nearly $500,000 simply by restructuring its insurance program. That's a lot of money, guys. The market's moving fast right now. Property rates are dropping for the right risk if you position them correctly. Auto premiums are an absolute mess. If your agent's only answer is it's a hard market, it's time to call Drew Smith at 210-393-8382. That is 210-393-8382. Talk to Drew before your renewal, not after. Contact information is in the description. Welcome to the channel, Drew. Appreciate you, brother. All right. Are we good on linebackers, Ian?
Yeah. Saw Izzy was just walking by with like a bag of chocolate chips. Just
She's resourceful over there, dude. She moves throughout the computer room.
She's all over the place.
205 is crazy light. Yeah, it's a legitimate problem. It's not good. I don't know why that was allowed to occur, but it occurred. All right, let's talk the next player that's on the second level. That is known as the nickel, but it has, once again, another name in this defense. And what is that name, Ian?
The Star. Star to go.
Great job, man. So this is the fifth DB, and it was an innovation that's been around now. What is it, 26 years? But give us a little history here.
The idea of a starting nickel, I think the first really famous, impactful starting nickel deal that I remember was Roy Williams at Oklahoma in that 2000 championship defense, and then that even superior 2001 Oklahoma defense that Bob Stoops had with his brother and Brent Venables. And Roy Williams was like a classic big hitting linebacker. He was like 6'1", 220, something like that, murdering people, tackling people in violent ways that they had to make illegal in the NFL. The horse collar was a Roy Williams special. And so they're like, oh, let's play nickel, but our nickel, instead of being like our third best corner, is going to be this blazing fast dude who can play on the edge and show up. And okay, that was very effective. And gradually from there, took a while in a lot of places. The idea of having a really good player as your starting nickel took over. I think by the 2010s, that had become mainstream in the SEC and a little bit in the Big Ten. Like 2011, Tyrann Mathieu almost wins, maybe not almost. He's a finalist for the Heisman Trophy as a starting nickel for that LSU defense at like 5'9", 176 or whatever, the Honey Badger. When Muschamp came to Texas last time, they had been playing a base 4-3 with Robert Killebrew, 6'3", 235, as their Sam linebacker. So any of the diagrams I've seen today where there's a star, they would put a linebacker out there, and it would be Robert Killebrew. And it was tough. It was really tough. That dude probably should have had a much better career at Texas if he hadn't been asked to play out in Tatooine. And then Muschamp takes over, and he's like, okay, our new Sam linebacker is 5'10", 186-pound senior cornerback Ryan Palmer. And the defense got miles better. And it was like a major proof of concept for, I think, a lot of Texas fans. You're muted. I like to hear you every now and then to know that I'm.
I disagree with everything you said. It was funny during that period where like the older coaches that could not figure out the nickel and were just willing to get absolutely demolished with the Sam. And now nickel's your base. It's not your base in which you build everything out in practice. It's still whatever your 3 down or whatever is, but base has the idea of that's what you're almost always in. That change has been significant.
I have a disturbing insight on this.
Okay.
I went and studied the game plans and the approaches of Ohio State and USC in 2005 against Texas. And they both got picked apart basically because they didn't have a nickel defense. And it's like, boy, if Vince Young had come along like 5 to 10 years later, he would have obviously been awesome, but he may not have had the same impact because in these enormous games, he's playing these teams that have like no conceptual framework for how to defend him.
Yeah, they're not inoculated to these plays yet.
The only team that had any idea of what to do was Oklahoma, who actually shut him out in 2004. In 2005, they still got it taken to them.
The nickel or the star also has potential to be one of the most exciting players in their roles because they do a lot of fun stuff. So let's talk about point 1 here of what the job of a Muschamp star entails.
Number 1 is covering slot receivers and man coverage. That's the most important thing for a nickel to be able, a star to be able to do. That's the hardest thing. That's why you're there instead of a linebacker. Is that if it's a linebacker, then they're just going to get dusted on quick routes, slants, stick routes, nods, whatever. Anything that requires lateral quickness is going to dust a linebacker. And potentially also, like for a while, teams did the Roy Williams thing where it'd be like, okay, let's play like a small, fast linebacker or safety out there. And then that still was like, no, we're still getting picked apart. We're still too predictable in coverage. We're still too limited. So then we eventually reached the stage where we're at now, where it's like, what you want in that spot is basically a cornerback.
Yep.
And even a good cornerback, he needs to have some other skills that we'll get to in a second that another cornerback may not need, but he's got to be an athlete.
I guess in some sense it's easier that you're not, most defenses are protecting you, so you're not having to carry guys down the field or, run with fades in most situations now. But also there's a level of skill that you have to be able to read those hitches. Is that a slant? Is that a hitch? All of those things too. You need that kind of quick processing, that ability to match steps. And then of course slot receivers can be some of the fastest through their steps. So you need some quick triggering ability and identification there. And that's why, of course, like a Jade Barron was awesome. He seemed psychic from all what he did in the film room, but they need to have a good understanding of short routes and what they can mean. Because if you're a step behind on some of those quick throws, it's an easy completion.
Yep. Number 2 is you're basically responsible for restricting access to the wide side of the field. You should have an end inside of you that's like trying to set the edge and preventing runs from coming downhill to the wide side with an angle. But even with that, there's still like a run could bounce to you, and you better be there to deal with it. And then maybe more importantly, any perimeter throws on screens and quicks, you need to not only get out there and stop them across like hash to sideline or really box to sideline, but you need to get out there and stop them with outside leverage. If you can do that and force the ball back into the rest of your teammates, then you will blow up so much of what spread offenses are trying to do. And so it overlaps with the first criteria of being able to cover slot receivers tightly, being able to get sidelines, not sideline to sideline, but like ball to sideline. It's the same thing. It's a lateral agility deal. It's change of direction and quickness. Recognition, but then also plus tackling and the ability to play forcefully through contact when you get blocked on a bubble screen or something. Yeah. Jade Barron had this amazing
incredible ability to do that.
He had a push-pull technique for getting off blocks where he'd like go in and like push and then like pull the guy and get in the spot he needed to get to. He was amazing with his hands. So like no small wonder he was also great at corner. Jelani McDonald was good at it when he played nickel too. His technique was push the guy backwards because he was big and strong.
Yeah, if you can. Yeah.
Also great.
Yeah, nickels are fun because they have to be super game. Like they have to be able to hit, and oftentimes they're undersized to the ball carrier they're hitting. So you have to just see them launch themselves. They have a lot of heart when they're outweighed by 20 pounds usually by some back. So another reason why I love the nickel position. And then you have a third thing to do. This is what we're talking about, how varied this position is and how unique of a player you need. What's the third thing they need to be able to do?
The nickel is an amazing position to blitz because he can come wide off the edge. If you want, that was one of the biggest things that Oklahoma had down when they played base nickel in 2000. You watch them against like Florida State in the national championship game, and they had like a blazing fast weak side linebacker named Rocky Kalmus, and then they had blazing fast Roy Williams, and they could have either of them like suddenly walk down and loop around either edge. And because the other team was in a spread, there'd be nobody to account for them. So if they could bring them without them noticing in time, they were just getting these like super fast 225-pound dudes in the backfield at the snap coming around the corner at an angle. And then you can get sacks that way, but you can also pile up tackles for loss and just destroy a running game with negative plays. The nickel, if you look at Muschamp's nickel stats in the years, like when he was directly in charge of the Georgia back end, or when he was at Texas or South Carolina or Florida, he's always good at using his nickels to get negative plays with the blitz.
Yeah, you can keep a safety over them, so the safety can pick up the responsibility of the receiver very quickly. One thing they teach quarterbacks, but I still see quarterbacks make the mistake all the time, and that safety is right over that nickel, and that nickel's walked up. You need to be alerting that he's going to fire, but every game I see that not actually be implemented by quarterbacks. And then a lot of the times too, they're not in the box count, right? So the offensive line is not accounting for them, so that tackle might not even look their way. And then the quarterback, like I said, they can have problems. Texas had problems with firing the nickel a lot under Quinn. So they're in a unique position to blitz as well because they're often unseen. They're very fast, so they can get to the quarterbacks easier. And if they have that run stopping ability, it's the same thing. They can hit and they can contact ball carriers. So it's a unique player, and they can make a lot of cool big plays.
I noticed that a lot of times Muschamp would play some of his younger up-and-coming dudes at Georgia or even at South Carolina, definitely at Texas. He started with Ryan Palmer, who was their like the only veteran they had in the entire secondary. But when he was injured, he went to 5-star freshman Aaron Williams. And then later he moved Aaron Williams to corner, and it was young Kenny Vaccaro. So you get the sense that Muschamp is good at unleashing good young athletes in this position that have the versatility of tools, but they're also like, I don't think it's quite as heady or demanding skill wise as corner.
Yeah, corner. I can see an argument for a nickel for like the flexibility of what it's different. It's different types of skill.
You need the toughness, the tackling, and the agility.
Yeah.
But I think it's like conceptually simpler. It's a lot of like, if this go or if this, it's a lot of A or B.
Sure, because they're not carrying. So like the corner has to carry a full route tree.
Yes.
And they're more one-on-one. Like a nickel still has like a linebacker to the inside of them, a corner to the outside, a safety over top of them. It's a different thing with a corner. So yes, I would ultimately say a corner is more skilled, definitely in like reading, but like a really well employed nickel or deployed nickel also has like such a range of responsibility. Like when you see Jahdae Barron do it, it's an art, right? If you do it at a high level, it's really impressive.
Yeah, but even still, that was nothing like what he did when he moved to corner.
Yeah, but it's like you can also argue that like the corner route tree is it's vertical or across. You know, there's the sidelines here.
I think
like they're limited on their range too. And then once they break past 7 yards, you know it's vertical. So corners have a varied option from the start of the ball, but as the ball progresses, everything narrows down into like binary options. It's like it's either fade or post now. It's either hitch.
Yeah, it happens fast though.
Happens super fast. That's why corners are impressive when they're at the top of their game.
I think my point is that Muschamp has been tended to. It looks like he often uses the nickel to unleash powerful, promising young defensive backs, like corner type guys.
Yeah.
And then actually age them to corner like Texas has done with Barron and Gilbo and maybe Littleton eventually.
Well, and that's the position he's like really coaching, right? So I expect the nickel to be at a high level because Muschamp doesn't play around if you're not doing things correctly. So that position is going to get coached super hard, and it's going to be his room. Even though he'll have a great understanding of all of his players, you have a deeper understanding with who you're in the position room with the most. So I expect the nickel to be emphasized even more than usual.
Muschamp's with the nickels?
Yeah, that's kind of the one he's like taken the most personal coaching to.
Huh. I don't think that makes sense though, because they have Orthe, Gideon, and Nansen. So
yeah. So nickel's the one. I don't know if he's like the nickel coach, but that's the room that he's looked after more personally, I guess. So it's like big thing.
You're gonna see Dime for sure then this year. So be like, my nickels are great. We're gonna play 2 of them.
Yeah. Steve Sarcasm says, is Littleton as big and physical as those two you named?
Who are the two we named? Aaron Williams and Vaccaro?
I think so.
No. He's fine. He's plenty physical. He's very reactive. He made a lot of flash plays last year. He forced 2 fumbles.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely physical, and he's definitely like see it and go. Very good in zone. But Aaron Williams was like 200 as a freshman. Vaccaro was like freakishly big. He was like 215, 218. He was a freak. He could play. He had games where he'd like cover who was that terrifying slot receiver for West Virginia back then? No one's gonna know.
Yeah, I would say I have no clue.
He covered like Big 12 slot receivers at 217 pounds or whatever and was fine. Tavon Austin.
Oh, the greatest highlights ever.
Yeah, he was Vaccaro was unreal.
So, and I think too is like, of course you like size. If you could keep the speed constant and go up to that size, of course you would like it. But also nickel, like we said, is like, if your recognition is there, it doesn't really matter. You often meet the ball, like if on a screen, they often meet the ball carrier as he catches it. So you can make up for size as long as you know what you're looking at. Now, if you don't know what you're looking at and you're getting lead blocked, that's where the size at nickel can become a problem.
Yeah.
Let's look through the room here. We had earlier in the mix, it was kind of like Bo Masco was rotating a little bit there, and then Grayson Littleton, and then Bo looks like he just outright won that corner spot. I think he's the one they say has the best reps against Cam Coleman and stuff like that too. So it looks pretty safe that Grayson Littleton is going to be your starting nickel.
I always thought they were doing that just to have flexibility.
Like you
play a team where it's like the best receivers in the slot, and it's like, well, let's just. You think you can hide from Masco in the slot? You can't hide.
Yeah,
but we'll find out, I guess. And then Littleton, yeah, he was good last year. You would think with a year of learning under Muschamp, he'd be awesome this year.
Yeah,
and yet they are moving Xavier Filsamy there full time now.
I think that's more of a way to force Kobe to safety. I think this might be more of a safety issue than a nickel issue is what I mean. And because I've said it, I don't love the depth at safety. Like Jonah Williams, great, but he's hurt. So I like Derek Williams and I like Jelani, but I don't know much past that. Wait, you can go get her a water real quick. And then here, mute yourself real quick. She's not very subtle.
Go to commercial. I'll be right back.
All right, cool. Well, I'll hit this. Let's get some David McClellan going as Ian gets hydration. Then we'll talk more about the safety thing.
Big financial decisions don't have to feel overwhelming. There's someone who can guide you every step of the way. David McClellan is a fiduciary financial advisor with Forum Financial, and he's working closely with his clients as a true financial life coach, guiding every aspect of your financial journey with expertise and care. If his name sounds familiar, that's because David was a swimmer at Texas and a member of several national championship teams. Today, he channels that same championship mindset into helping people win with their finances. David specializes in financial planning, and he's contributed numerous articles to Kiplinger on the topic of retirement tax bombs. And right now, David is offering viewers a free intro consultation to assess your financial situation. Do not miss this chance to get personalized guidance from a trusted expert. To schedule your free consult, email David at dmcclellan@forumfinancial.com, or you can call him directly at 312-933-8823. The contact info is in the description.
All right. We good, Ian?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good. So I think it's more of a safety issue. So I like Jelani, I like Derek, but I didn't know we had past that, especially with injured Jonah Williams. And then I've advocated that I really like Kobe at safety, specifically like the A&M game. A lot of his big plays and good games that he had were something got caught in front of him. He read it really well, and then he's a big guy. He made a big hit. So I think that was the move. And then at that point, they were like, all right, Phil Simi, go to nickel. But I think it was more of a critique of safety than it was nickel.
Interesting. Phil Simi is also bigger, so he could potentially be a big nickel. The idea of a big nickel is that, so I mentioned earlier that teams would try to play like a safety or a faster linebacker as their nickel. So they would still have like a run stopping bent to their defense and their orientation of their personnel. And then teams eventually figured out like, no, the passing skill is actually the most troublesome thing. Muschamp in particular, he's like, no. You have to stop the pass first with your personnel and then figure out the run from there. The idea of big nickel is that you say, hey, just because the other team plays with 2 tight ends doesn't mean that we're going to go back to old school defense and start playing a bunch of lumbering linebackers out there, especially when most of the teams that play with 2 tight ends, one of the tight ends is a dude that can barely block unless you put small people against him. And he's more of just a big receiver.
Yeah, most teams are going 2 tight ends to get you to put a big linebacker in so they can play like it's 11.
Yes.
So don't bite.
So but you may get mauled by screens and runs if you stay with a cornerback out there. So then you have like Texas. PK and Muschamp are very similar in a lot of ways. They both used a star. They both called it a star. And PK used a big nickel concept. His was Jelani McDonald. He was like, oh, you're going to play with 2 tight ends and try to hunt our linebackers with a Brock Bowers type guy? No, you won't. We'll just put Jelani McDonald out there. Good luck.
It's important that it's called a star because nickel naming is a crucial psychological tool. So it's got to be something cool. It's got to be star. It's got to be cheetah. It's got to be something that does not make you feel like you're the 5th defensive back. Very crucial to give it a cool name, or else players will not want to play it, apparently.
Dave Aranda has a peso.
Yeah, peso. Yeah.
Just a 5-cent piece or something.
The nickel is so obvious and so clear. Everyone knows what it means. But yeah, when it first came on the scene, you basically got – it was like you weren't good. You were the 5th defensive back. You were kind of just an addition. You can't play corner or safety, even though it's not close to the case of a modern nickel. Like a modern nickel is a crucial piece, a unique skill set, and should be respected as such. But they've had to come up with all these naming conventions to make it sound sexier to the prospective nickel player.
Yep.
No one wants to be called the dime or the quarter. They do cool names on dime too, right?
It depends.
Depends.
Like for Texas, it's just the money.
Do you expect Phil Simi to be there as the true number 2, or do you think it's Mac, or how do you think that works out? Phil Simi as the big nickel, I guess you said.
I don't know. I mean, they could also play McDonald as the big nickel.
Correct. But then the point is like, well, the point is safety death. But at that point, if you have Kobe and you have Williams and you like them, then you can.
That's another reason to move Black to safety.
You need a 3rd safety that's good.
So you can, if you want to get those guys involved in dime or sub packages, then you don't want, and if you don't like your backup safeties, a lot of times in a sub package, you move your best safeties down because they're the guys with the overall knowledge and expertise to play closer to the ball and learn new stuff. And then you play your backup safeties as just traditional safeties because that's what they rep more of the time. So you could move Kobe Black to safety to free up Derek Williams and Jelani McDonald to get involved in other positions and sub packages.
Yeah. And it is interesting they didn't. That's why I also think it's a safety solve because they like Littleton, because Kobe has a lot of the nickel stuff too, just as far as forward attack. So it's interesting that the thought was he needs to go to safety with depth opposed to potentially as a big nickel.
Yeah.
So I think ultimately the safety depth concern was accurate from earlier predictions. And so we'll see how that works out. I think it's a good move. I really like Kobe there.
It sounded like he was doing really good at corner. So they obviously have tremendous depth at corner.
Right.
We already knew that because Phillips was really good and Masco was good and Samari Matthews was looking good. And I thought even Haywood looked surprisingly good in spring.
Yeah, clearly they feel comfortable with having like a third corner that's playable. They felt good with Littleton at nickel. And then if they could just get Kobe up to safety as that third safety or just really a co-equal rotational player with other safeties. So, yeah, that's why I think it's a strong move. And I like Gideon will do a good job. Because Kobe can play safety because of his reaction ability that I saw in A&M. He understood the concepts. He understood when to come off of his guy and hit another guy. He's older into the program. Everyone's still technically starting from scratch because it's Muschamp. But he is older, at least in maturity. So I think it's a good move. Ultimately, the nickel position should be a lot of fun in the Muschamp defense. Is there anything you think we missed here, Ian?
I don't think so. I'm going to bet on Littleton holding this job down because he's just has such a knack as a playmaker, or he did last year. I don't think that's going to go away with another year in the program and the level of coaching he's getting. Safety is going to be interesting. We'll do that sometime soon. I've been asked to take a detour to look at a high school player that will be on everybody's radar soon. So that'll be nice.
That'll be your next piece.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Definitely don't. If you're not sure, don't. That's the rule. All right, everybody, as my computer is creeping along brutally. Let's see what we got here. I want you guys to head over to Inside Texas Summer Sale, 50% off. You can get the Ultimate Fan bundle and get that by clicking the link in the description below. Everyone, have you a wonderful day and stay locked in. We got a bunch of good shows coming your way. Peace.